In these events, the little brochure we just received indicates how well we are going to make sure that this celebration really touches as many people as possible. It's very important, particularly to those that unfortunately, as we saw our nearby neighbors in Virginia, they had a difficulty with even recognizing that there was a national holiday. I believe that Arizona still does not recognize. There are still some states. I just really cannot even begin to understand that. But getting back to the theme of tonight, as I said, you made me think quite a bit because Martin Luther King was truly the kind of leader that is very rare in our history. He was a man of such courage. When you stop and think what he did, when you stop and think about the world in which he fought for civil rights and for human rights, it was an environment, it was a government, it was a society in which really there was no appreciation or consideration or valuing of people of color, of African Americans. His vision is a vision that is, to me, a human vision. He aspires to provide to every human being what I, in my heart, believe is the right of every human being. But we now are here, and many years later, in an environment where I think most of us also feel some of what Martin Luther King and Cesar Chavez must have felt, that antagonism, it's stronger than antagonism. I think it's hate, that racism that is unfortunately not only embedded in our society, but is now legitimately expressed. We see it in responses to newspaper articles, in radio talk shows, in just generally in public, in a way that it truly degrades the human spirit. And it's very important for us at this point in time to remember that others have come before us and have been able to do extraordinary things in extraordinary ways, in extraordinary times. And that is what I see is the common bond between Cesar Chavez and Martin Luther King. And the way that they were able to achieve what they did is something that each of us has to learn and learn to apply. The spirit of nonviolence, it is so powerful. It is really the loudest voice that any individual or any group or community can have. When we let the lowest spirits of our soul be those that dominate, when we let anger and violence and hatred be the ways that we deal with one another, there cannot be a good result. It is only when we indeed raise to our highest levels. And that is what I think these two men embodied. It's okay. Cesar Chavez learned from Martin Luther King in reading what you have sent out. I was not aware of how closely they knew each other. And they worked in the same very difficult period of the 60s. One advantage of being la abuela of the movement, though I really don't think I want to consider myself a la abuelita. I have 5 grandkids, I'd rather hear pioneer or something like that, or one of the first. But it doesn't matter. But the advantage of being the age that I am is that I was beginning to be very active at the time of these two great men. I had just started college, and I remember the group of college students that would go into the South to do voter registration in the early 60s. I remember the beginning of the grape boycott for farm workers. And all of these things were hush-hush. They were passed on, you know, in small groups, in what we had then as hootenannies, where someone picked up a guitar, and it would be small groups meeting, you know, out in the lawn sometimes at college. And these ideas were just being passed on from one individual to the other. And there was such passion in understanding that the injustice that was accepted and part of everyday life in the United States could not continue. That was, I think, a grandiose period in which individuals, one by one, started working together and said, there's something that I can do. I don't have to wait until Congress or the leaders do something about it. We can do something individually. And you begin to see the nonviolent activities of sitting at counters that we're not allowed to, breaking those rules and laws that were intended to keep people separated and unequal. Those were the moments, I think, where you really see the beginning, the birth of a freedom movement. And it was done without really any expectation and any hope that we would ever achieve it. It was only, I think, as you began to see housewives, for example, decided they were going to boycott grapes and not buy them, and let the economic power of their purchase be the one that was going to make a difference. I think it's so very important for us not to forget that. But it's even more important for us as adults to make sure that the young people today read about this, know about this. I don't know how many young Latinos now know about the life and the work of Cesar Chavez. I think that the commemorations of this year, this week, and the importance of having the kind of symbol that will be on the mall has that as a purpose, to make sure that we don't forget, to make sure that we remember what the struggle was, what was fought for, and what has been gained. I wish that I could celebrate and applaud and say, we've done it, the battle's over, but we really haven't. We have gained enormous, enormous ground in voting rights, in civil rights. There are protections that didn't exist before Martin Luther King, before Cesar Chavez. And it's not that long ago that these were not rights, they were not protections. But we need to ensure that they don't get erased, that they don't get worn. And I think that that is where I find the energy and my commitment to continue the fight. Because unfortunately, too many people, both Latinos and African Americans, still are not able to fully develop and contribute to their full capability. There are too many doors that are still keeping them away. We're seeing that doors are being closed in the face of young students that want to continue their studies. We see lack of access to work, well-paid jobs, in this huge separation of the wealth and the poor. So I think that the battle certainly needs to continue. But I think it's so important that we learn and remember and apply the lessons of these two great men. I know just, when was it? May 1st, I was arrested in the White House with Congressman Gutierrez. I wasn't in the country a couple of weeks ago when he was arrested again, but I'm ready to do it again. And if you see, that is what the environmental activists are also doing. I believe there are over 100 people that have been arrested in the last couple of days. Those are some of the excellent lessons that these men have shown. It's through nonviolence and through saying, no pasarán, basta, it's enough. I protest. I protest in the only way that I can, and that is in a nonviolence, in a disobedience of laws that are not just and fair. So I can confess to you that my hero, Martin Luther King, and my other hero, Cesar Chavez, continue living very much in my heart and in my energy. And I thank them for helping all of us know what it is that is the good fight that we have to continue in the struggle. Thank you.